Good morning, everybody. Just a little technology problem my side, but thank you so much for joining us. My name is Michelle Pollard and I am the chair of Suffolk Business Women, which is part of the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce group. And I'm also the director and owner of Spider, which is a recruitment company based here in Ipswich, and the MD and owner of Polka Dot Frog, which is a traditional recruitment company. So I am actually really excited about chairing today's event, and I know that we're being quite brave putting on the first menopause event here in Suffolk. And I know some of the other chambers are actually very jealous that we're doing it. So before we officially start, I'm just going to run through some basic housekeeping and talk to you briefly about how today's webinar will run. So we're being recorded for internal purposes only, and there's going to be a Q&A session at the end of the panel discussion, because we want to find out how you guys are feeling out there and what we can do to help support you. So you're going to have the following icons at the bottom of your screen. First, we have the chat icon. Please select everyone to communicate with everyone in the webinar. Then we have the raise hand icon, which we'll explain and use later on in the Q&A session. And finally, the Q&A icon. For those who prefer to type questions, feel free to type your questions here anytime during the event, and we'll do our best to answer as we go through. So today we're going to be talking about the menopause in the workplace, and I know Amanda is thrilled to be able to subtitle it "It's more than just a hot topic." As businesses, we really need to understand the impacts of the menopause in the workplace. And today we're joined by a panel of experts who will share some pointers with us, and some pointers for our workplaces, more importantly, advisors on duty of care to our teams and our employees, and also offer some empowerment to our staff. And we'll look at both the individual and company-wide users, including the impact at the business's bottom line. So I'm delighted to shortly be welcoming three fantastic speakers as our panel of guests. But before the conversation gets started, we want to just do a mini poll to find out a little bit more about the support that you guys are experiencing currently in the workplace. So we're going to have some questions pop up. If you could take a read, it's all anonymous, just a very quick hard fire, yes, no, don't know, not applicable, and run through each of the questions. That would be amazing, and we can talk about the answers towards the end of today's webinar. So are you currently experiencing or have experienced symptoms of the menopause? How would you rate your organisation's support of the menopause, and so on? So would you value additional menopause support in your workplace, and what initiatives does your business currently have in the workplace to support employees going through the menopause? So if I could ask you guys to answer those questions as we go, is that okay, my chamber friends? Are we able to do that? Let's have a little look. Yeah, are we all good?
Yeah, so we can see some responses coming in, Michelle.
Perfect. Keep them coming, guys. They're all anonymous. It's really important that we understand what's happening in our local business community. And also, we're going to be able to use your answers to help shape some future events that I'm hoping will give you even more support and help us get more awareness of what's happening for women in business when they're going into this perimenopausal and menopausal place. Yeah, it's a challenging time for women in business when we're going through these kind of symptoms and feelings and so on. So yeah, keep the answers coming. How are we doing for the answers, chamber team?
We're getting some really good responses in at the moment.
Fabulous. Well, let me know when we're ready to crack on with the rest of today's webinar, and when we've got all of the answers, and then we can move on to our very exciting guest speaker slot.
Right, looking good. Just double checking.
Guys, it feels really weird doing a webinar.
We've got some fantastic responses coming in, but I think we're good. We've had a few comments in chat where people saying some of the answers don't even apply, but that's absolutely fine because obviously we can catch up.
Good.
No, it all looks really good actually. I think just check and give it a few more seconds and I think you're good.
No worries, no worries.
Thank you.
Like I say, guys, it's all anonymous. This is not a witch hunt of in any way. This is about getting a better understanding as to what we're doing well here in Suffolk, and more importantly, what we're not doing well. And we're going to be able to then support women in business in the way they need supporting, and we can still, we can help educate companies on what they should be doing. I won't mention any names, but one of my team phoned me just before I came onto the call today to say, oh my goodness, I've just had my first hot flush. I don't know how I feel about it. So I know that after today's call, I'm going to be putting another call into her to make sure she feels supported, because it's not just a hot flush, is it, guys? It's so much more than that, so much more than that. So are we ready to move on to our panel of speakers?
Let's go for it.
Yeah? Are we ready? Here comes Kate. Here comes Deborah. And here comes the lovely Charlotte. Hi, guys.
Hello, good to be here.
We'll just wait for Deborah to join us on the panel, and then away we go. So let me start introducing you to our guests. We have Kate Pigeon Owen, who is the CEO of Wellbeing International. Kate is a trained mental health advisor and first aider and a member of the British Menopause Society. So hello Kate. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have the very lovely Charlotte Bate, who is one of the directors at Mad HR, which is a local HR consultancy here in the east of England. Charlotte is an HR professional, trainer and coach. So hello, Charlotte. Hi. And then finally, we have Deborah O'Hara, who's Deputy Director of People and OD at the East Suffolk and North Essex NHS Foundation Trust. So welcome to everyone. Really grateful that you've joined us today to share some of your experiences and to give us some top tips and what you guys think we should be doing in our workplace to support our teams and so on, and also to support ourselves. That's just so important. So there's many questions around the menopause in the workplace, but a fact that we do know is menopausal women are the fastest growing demographic in the workplace. And we have over 4 million women aged between 45 and 55. It's because we're having to work longer, guys. We're having to work longer. But a recent study by McKinsey states that if we fully utilise women in the UK economy, by 2030 would be adding 150 billion to our economy. I mean, this is game-changing stuff for business owners and for people in business. However, according to People Management, 1 in 4, a quarter of women in the workplace are leaving their jobs because of the menopause, and that's just crazy, isn't it? That's just a crazy statistic. So they're eye-opening, these stats and facts, and we need to act now as businesses and make plans to understand what we need to do to support our staff who are going through this situation, going through this time in their lives. But where do we start? Where do we start? And the first question I want to ask is, there has been a lot of talk in the media recently about perimenopause and menopause. So to help everybody understand, could we briefly summarise what they are, what they both are, what the difference is? And Kate, can I throw that question to you so you can help us understand the difference, please?
Sure, I'm really happy to do that. Actually, there's been a move to change the whole understanding to be called the menopauses with an S on the end, because actually there are 3 phases and actually they're equally important. The first one is perimenopausal, as you said. On average in the UK, women start being perimenopausal around the age of 43. Now, what that means is those 6 levels of estrogen start to fluctuate and generally start coming down. Most women, Michelle, don't even know they're perimenopause for quite a few years. Yes.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you're menopausal literally for 24 hours. And what that means is literally the day you've had 1 year of no periods is when you're menopausal. And after that, you're post-menopausal. If I may just say one thing that I think is really key is that everyone keeps suggesting that it's all about estrogen. It isn't just about estrogen. In particular, progesterone is an incredibly important hormone. And what most people don't understand is the body compensates for when that starts going down, and we start producing more cortisol. And that's where many of the women start to feel insecure or worried, because actually many things happen as a consequence.
Yeah, it's that anxiety, isn't it? So that's what's creating that anxiety in menopausal women, is it, Kate?
Exactly that, except there are really easy things you can do, and that's why education is really key, Michelle.
Brilliant. And I know we're going to tap into some of those top tips later on in our chat. So thank you so much. So following on from Kate's comments, I'm going to ask Charlotte a question. Why should the menopause matter to employers? Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I think, to be honest, Michelle, the introduction that you did says a huge reason as to why. The fact that, menopausal women are the fastest growing demographic in the workforce. 75 to 80% of women, menopausal women, are in work. So, you know better than anyone, Michelle, from your industry experience, recruiting people is a real challenge at the moment, and actually retaining people is increasingly becoming a challenge for all employers, because it is a candidate market out there. So there's a real business case for employers to sit up and take notice of this very subject, for all of the reasons that we've just discussed. But actually, that loss of skill and experience in the workplace, the financial implications, not only in terms of recruitment, training, development, all of that is hugely significant and impacting businesses right now. So that's the kind of business case. But also there is a very strong legal argument as well for employers to sit up and take notice, and there's a distinct obligation on them, because the Equality Act in 2010 that came in, there are a number of protected characteristics which can be related to menopausal, to the menopause, and that could be age, it could be sex, it could be disability, and those are all protected characteristics. So whilst the menopause hasn't got a kind of firm legal standing by itself now, actually a lot of those symptoms and characteristics of the menopause do form part of those. Equally, we've got the health and safety legislation, which is a legal obligation of employers, because they have a duty of care to protect the health, well-being of their team. So, there's a very real reason as to why employers need to sit up and take notice of this.
And is that why we're now talking a lot more about having menopause policies in business, Charlotte?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion in government at the moment about introducing menopause policies, and whilst it's not a legal requirement, actually this is such a significant topic for a number of employees. So actually, for employers to get on the front foot and to demonstrate their commitment and interest to this subject, not only to support those people that are going through this stage of their life, but also to provide their management team with the training and support to help support their team members, because this is going to be a relatively new subject for a number of them.
Brilliant, thank you. And that actually leads me on to a question to you, Deborah, because I know that you are a massive ambassador of supporting menopause in the workplace at your establishment. Can you tell us a bit more about the training and the awareness that you've created in your business?
Of course. So us at ESNEF, we employ over 11,300 staff, of which over 9,000 are actually female. So we looked into that a little bit more. And actually, between the age bracket of 42 and 53, we've got over 4,000 staff. So that equates to nearly 38% of our workforce. So what we've done at ESNEF is we've invested in, we have literally a bespoke in our occupational health department, what we call a menopausal nurse. That is her job, to work with our workforce. And what we've done is we've created like bespoke training for all managers. It's part of the manager's induction, and we make sure every manager goes on that every 18 months just to take the taboo away. I think what I found, I have daughters who are in their 20s and they openly talk about their periods, etc. I'm of a generation, I feel really old, I'm 50, and if anybody knew I was on my menstrual cycle, I would have been horrified. But so I'm also aware that the ladies in our workplace are also in that age group, and they're embarrassed to talk about it. And it's, you know, it's about making that awareness. It's okay, we're all going through the same thing. We have menopause cafes that people, a bit like this, monthly. So anybody who's coming or recognising these symptoms can just log on and have a confidential chat. And we've got the bespoke training for our managers because it's a huge demographic of our workforce.
Yeah, I've always thought that as well. I mean, I'm now going through the menopause. I suppose it's just brought everything to the forefront. It's like a revolution is happening at the moment, really, because everything seems to be so public facing, doesn't it? But one of the things I probably thought a while ago is not everybody will be needing maternity leave. Not everybody will be pregnant when they're in the workplace, but almost every woman in the workplace will go through the menopause at some stage. And the fact that we're only just now making this so public is just a bit crazy, really, isn't it? Just a bit crazy. But thank you for that, Deborah. Was there a defining moment for your business where you thought, yeah, we've got to do something about this? How did that whole change come about in your business?
I mean, we've been looking into this for quite a long while, but we've also noticed, even in our HR department of 150, we had really good, what we call really good, stable, tough women, and all of a sudden they could barely reiterate their name, and just everything was a problem. And you talk to them about, you know, I literally had a lady in here this morning. She was one of our strongest people, and she was like, well, I go to them and they don't know the answer, and I just can't do my job. And I was like, okay, so we're talking to someone who's been in the job for 15 years, and they don't know the answer. You've moved into this role 2 months ago, and here you are in floods of tears, broken because you don't know the answer. And just the irrational thoughts and the sort of loss of confidence, the overwhelming sadness that these, and when you actually see it with people who work for a long while, it makes you realise, wow, actually, when I felt really tearful, maybe 6 months ago, maybe I was in that position. So we've really, you know, our chief exec, Nick, is really strong about it, and he does promote it. And like I say, we've made it part of, it's even a line in our appraisal now, is there any health conditions or are you experiencing anything you think we should know about? And we make sure we've introduced one-to-one conversations every 3 months to make sure we constantly check in with those people. There's simple things we can do to make coming to work easier and to support our staff.
Yeah, very much so. And I'm going to slightly go off piste because I've experienced a lot of brain fog as I've been going through the menopause, but I run a business, and you know, sometimes the buck stops with you. And I have wondered several times, we try and tell our male counterparts and our younger women in our businesses that we are strong and we can make things and we're ready and able and we're experienced, but actually there's such a negative connotation with brain fog. What advice, and I am going off piste here, guys, and it's probably one that you haven't prepared, but what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe felt how I've felt in the last 12 to 18 months, where you have to be the strong person, you have to make the decisions, but you do know that you're suffering from a bit of brain fog. What would your top tips be? Go to Kate first.
Okay, I think that one thing that's happened over the last year or so, Michelle, is that women are more able to say, I'm having a moment. Just give me, it's nearly there. I've forgotten a name, or I'll get back to you. But just being very comfortable saying, I'm having a moment, and then getting back to people with the information is really key. My thing is I forget people's names. And in my job, that's really key. And I'm looking at someone going, I have known you for 10 years, cannot think of your name right
It's awful, isn't it?
So just having that sort of, you know, way about us, just saying I'm having a moment and I'll get back to you, and manage your cortisol levels, because actually brain fog is related to iodine levels. Brain fog is related to being stressed, not sleeping well. So there are things that you can really actively do to improve brain fog. So it's
interesting. Yeah. Do you have a pearl of wisdom, Charlotte? You're like, yeah, I have.
Yeah, I think it's just leading on from Kate's point, actually, it's about being authentic. It's about being open and honest, because as business leaders, as women in business, we have a duty to be role models. And if we feel the need to hide it in any way and present a front, then what message are we sending out to the rest of the team?
Yeah.
That, you know, you're creating this facade, and actually being authentic and showing it's okay to do this. Actually, you will gain more support and respect from your team. And show them that it's okay, because a lot of it, you know, that's what creates a lot of stigma. And I think that, you know, all business leaders have a responsibility, not just relating to menopause, but whatever situation people are going through. It's not about venting your spleen, but it really is about being authentic.
So brilliant. Thank you, Charlotte. And Deborah, anything that you'd like to add?
No, I just absolutely, it is about being authentic, and it is about our team seeing it's okay for us to say it.
Yeah.
We call it in our organisation a bit of a power surge, that we're either heating up very quickly.
A power surge, I love that. That's brilliant. I'm just having a power surge, guys.
Yeah, give me a minute and I'll be back with you. And that's okay. And we really believe it's about opening up that conversation and learning from the next generation that this is perfectly normal. Everybody is going to go through this. It's not a taboo subject.
Yeah.
So the more
and it shouldn't be a taboo subject, should it? Yeah.
Absolutely. The more as leaders we talk about it, the more we encourage our workforce to talk about it.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't think we should tolerate either when we hear the negative connotations about, oh, you're going through the menopause. I mean, what the hell? What the hell? But people have done, I've had that said to me in the last 12 months. I mean, it was a man, unfortunately, but we also need to, I suppose, acknowledge and make sure we're being open and honest in front of our male counterparts too, don't we? So thank you for that, guys. So a question to you all again. Both men and women are still unsure about having conversation about menopause in the workplace. And we've talked about what we should do, acknowledge it, say we're having a power surge. Is there anything else that you think we can do, maybe particularly to younger women and to men in the workplace, that we've not already discussed, guys? Let's throw that open to Kate.
I mean, I think something we pioneered at Wellbeing International was gender neutral webinars. So since the beginning of 2019, we've been offering those for whole organizations. So leading from the top, Michelle, down, this is how we educate, so that actually you may only get 3 or 4 blokes turn up to the first webinar, right? And the rest of the room are just women. But then the word gets out, it wasn't too bad and it wasn't too embarrassing, and they didn't talk about, you know, uncomfortable stuff, that actually it starts to, but it takes a while. The gender neutral bit for me is really key, because it's actually about being a human being and knowing about life, so that actually this is accessible information for everyone across the board. And it says that the companies care if it is gender neutral, as well as then maybe making something more specific just for women.
Yeah.
Really key point, I think, gender neutral.
Yeah, good idea. Charlotte, any additional things from you?
One of the points that Kate made at the start was that there are various different stages to the menopause, and a lot of people are experiencing symptoms but haven't got a clue. They're not necessarily linking it to that, so they may not be aware that they are entering into this next chapter of their lives.
Yeah.
And so there may be employers out there that think, well, based on my current demographic of the workforce, we don't need this. And I suppose my view of this is get in early. Don't wait until you need it or you believe that you need it, because then it's already too late.
Yeah.
Actually, start to have these conversations right now, because it's about increasing people's awareness. It's about breaking down those stigmas, breaking down those taboos, because a lot of businesses, they're all people related. So actually it's going to enhance your business in terms of your employer brand, welcoming new team members in, but also the service that your team can offer to your clients and to your customers, because we need to be looking outwardly to the business and recognizing that, it's not just about what you do for the people within your business. It can have real tangible business benefits for you as well, to help increase your understanding of your customer base.
Yeah. And we've got some comments coming in on the chat board, and take a read for yourselves. But God goodness, what are we suffering with here, guys? And we're doing it in an unspoken way. So even more important that we're having this conversation today with our expert speakers. I thought I was having early dementia and I had to work twice as hard to get the same amount of work done. I mean, this is just, this is crazy, isn't it? And Marlene, you're right. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize it and we remove the taboo, which then helps us all, doesn't it? So, Deborah, is there anything additional that you'd like to share with regards to having that conversation with men, younger women in the workplace?
We took a different stance and made it personal, saying it's not about just the women that you work with. This is about your mum, your sister, your partner, every female in your life that you come into contact with. Even your daughter will go through this. And do you not want to be that supportive person? And rather than just get irritated or why are they crying again, why can't they sleep, why are they this, that and the other, these are the steps you can show and that you can really support people. And we found that they looked at it from a different context and it sort of broke down that barrier, because we obviously have a different relationship with people outside work than we do as a manager role. And we found that made the gentlemen in our group just feel more open to ask the question.
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Yes, please, Kate. Yes, please.
What we found is that men were coming back after attending the webinars saying thank you and being quite vulnerable and saying, for the first time, I understand what my wife's going through. And very open conversations that we weren't expecting. Like, we were on the verge of divorce. I was like, I'm married to a mad woman, or, it's... I totally love what you're saying about this addresses everyone.
Yes,
male,
it does.
Female, and your lives. And that is an excellent way to tackle this. Because that's
it's not just a woman's, it's not just a woman's problem, is it? And that's part of part of the marketing to get all you lovely people here was it's not just a woman's problem. And I'd like to see more men here, and no doubt we will all go on the rampage to ensure that we do spread the word. But it's not just a woman's problem, so that's something that we're hearing loud and clear.
Sorry, Michelle, can I add to that as well? Because and I'm so delighted that you've said that, because men are absolutely affected by this. Whilst they may not go through the symptoms themselves, it can lead to sleep deprivation, it can lead to breakdown in relationships, and all of that could have a knock-on impact to a male's performance in the job, their attention span, all of these sorts of things. And so whilst we naturally think about the menopause and the symptoms and the effects on those female members of the team, actually we could still be seeing how it's impacting the performance of our male counterparts as well. and other people at different stages. And it's really important that those people are supported and acknowledged as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get practical, because we're women and that's what we like to do. We like to get stuff done, don't we? And we like to make sure that we can help in some way and push some stuff forward. So there's some managers here today. What are the first steps that managers can take to support their female workers if they're not already doing some stuff in their workplace? Can I throw that open to you first of all, Kate?
Yeah, of course. Actually, I think it comes from top management down. So, because if it becomes just little bits that change here and there, it doesn't really have a long-lasting effect.
Yeah.
So right down from the CEO, managing director down, there has to be a directive that this is important, and therefore everyone gets educated. If you do that, then people become better managers per se, because everyone is educated. Personally, I think that over time, and drum roll, in September we will have our first CPD menopause champion training. The next stage is to get people in your organization trained up, so there's a place to go, perhaps similar, Deborah, to what you're talking about, the menopause nurse. It may be absolutely on that line, but it just shows that actually it's all been thought through, and that the manager doesn't feel that they're holding this themselves just on their own. It needs to be a manager's thinking, okay, everyone in the company's got my back here. We're learning how to support these women, and actually we're going to evolve as an organization about how we're doing that. And it could be just a very simple thing, Michelle, like having the flexibility of saying, I'd like to work from home this week. Or actually, I'm going to take a day off in lieu, but I will make that time up. Or I've got a group of 5 days a week, 5 days a month, or even 5 days a year even, of where I've got a flexibility of saying, I'm going to opt out and not work today. So things like that start to say an organisation cares.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything that you would add to that, Deborah? Because you've got a very large team of people.
We have something that is part of, like I said, we do the manager induction training, but we also have this thing that we say that women that work for us can press the pause button. So it's the end of menopause, but press the pause button, and then we give them an option of how deeply and comfortable they feel. I'm fully open to talk about this. I'm really embarrassed to talk about this. Can you just give me some help? And then there's 3 different levels that a manager can go in and start the conversation. So some people are really embarrassed and don't want to talk about it, and some people are just like, this is so embarrassing for me, I need to sit near the toilet. So that's the way we manage it, and we've got 3 separate packs, just so we approach the conversation in the person's comfort zone. But then
you guys have really got this nailed down, haven't you, with your power surges and your pauses. I love that. That's amazing.
We have to, because like I say, 80% of our workforce are women, and it's just even simple things like the uniform can be really uncomfortable.
God, don't talk to me about
all of that sort of stuff.
Heck.
No, I know, but all of those things. So we just try to hit it, and also appreciate the privacy level. Some people are really comfortable to talk about it. Some people are really embarrassed, but just want to press the pause button, and I'll come back to you when I'm ready. So just makes the manager aware that I just might be a little bit more fragile, or I might be having a few more power surges, etc. So that's how we do it. Yeah, okay, brilliant. That's great ideas there. Charlotte, anything additional that you could add?
I totally agree with Kate. It needs to be very much a top-down initiative. We need to be thinking about things from a strategic basis. So if your organisation has a well-being policy, a well-being strategy, then absolutely, that the menopause should feature highly in that, so that it is very much a well-considered and joined-up approach to managing the menopause. I think also, and I often see this in businesses, that yes, we've got a business plan, we've got a strategy for this, that, and the other. Where is it? Hang on a minute. let me just dust it off.
Yeah.
And there we go. So
Yeah.
I think it's just about, you know, keeping it on the agenda, keeping it fresh, checking in with people, checking in with the impact and the effectiveness on it. And it's this continual evolving situation. So it's not something which is a tick box exercise, right, we've done that, we've managed our duty and away we go. Actually, this needs to be very squarely on the agenda and regularly revisited as well.
Yeah, okay, that's brilliant. Thanks, guys. I'm just going back to the chat room, and I can fully sympathise with what Emma is saying. And yeah, I've recently gone on to HRT as well. And I had a couple of years where I really thought about going onto it, and I didn't want to go onto it because I've got quite a high risk breast cancer in my family. But I went on it. And guys, it's been a game changer. I feel like me again. And I know HRT won't be the answer to everybody, and it's not the holy grail of everything. But if you haven't spoken to your doctors about it or spoken to a professional, somebody like Kate, I would strongly, strongly suggest that you do, because the quality of life that we deserve, that could potentially give that back to you. So let's move on again to some do's and don'ts of managing menopause in the workplace. And could I ask Charlotte, from an HR perspective, several sort of senior managers and managers here today, what are the do's and don'ts from an HR perspective?
Okay, so there are loads, but I'm going to try and keep it concise. I'm really aware of time as well. So just some of the key ones are, firstly, don't make assumptions. Everybody's situation is unique to them. And equally, it's not a kind of defined situation in any one period of time, because things can change over a period of time as well. And, you know, it's great that we're being more open and we're talking about it and we are able to share experiences, but equally, because, for example, your partner may have experienced something different, it doesn't make you the expert on it. And you know, it's not necessarily that you're able to walk in that person's shoes. So really just ask that question to find out what is that individual's experience and what do they feel is best needed to support them at this period of time. And then again, go back and keep checking in with them to make sure that the support is in place is actually reflective and providing the right solutions as well. It's about treating people fairly, with dignity and with respect. And when we think about HR and we think about equality, there is often a perception that we have to treat everybody in exactly the same way. And I have to say that is absolutely not the case, because we have to be fair, we have to treat people with dignity and respect, but everybody's situation is unique. And so we'll get the greatest impact if we treat people as individuals. So that's really important. I think it's also about having an awareness of GDPR and the sensitivities around this situation when you're talking to team members. So be mindful of who you're sharing this information with, how you're recording it, how you're storing that information, how you're using and processing that information. I'm sorry to be boring and to mention the GDPR perspective, but actually that is a reality for employers, that they need to consider that, and particularly raise the manager's attention to what their obligations are when they're having these conversations.
I wouldn't have even thought about the GDPR situation. Yeah, crazy.
So that's a really important one. And I think also from a HR perspective, if your organisation does have a policy or a procedure or supporting documentation, then make sure that you're familiar with it and that you're following it and you're utilising it. And that provides a really great framework, you know, because a lot of people, they don't initiate these conversations because they're just not sure where to start. So, you know, it's about using the support, the guidance, the tools that you've got and the resources that you've got available within your organisation as well, to ensure that consistency. And, you know, you don't have to be the expert. So it's about being able to, you know, with the introduction of those kind of menopause champions, and you may have occupational health, look to where you can signpost people, how you can bring experts in to support that process, because it doesn't sit all on you. So, you know, I think that those are just kind of some of those key points, really. I could go on forever, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. I know that Kate has got some pearls of wisdom there too, because she's like, yeah, let me at them. Kate, what would you say?
Well, I think you know, Michelle, that we did a survey of women who actually had an easy experience through the menopause, because
to them.
So many people talk about the negatives, but there are also positives. And we wanted to see if there was anything sort of core that they had in common. I can tell you as a bit of a teaser, there are 5 outcomes from the survey. And I would say, sort of adding to what sort of Charlotte's just said about HR, one thing that HR and top management can do is by not just educating what the menopause is about, but actually helping people manage their cortisol levels and stress levels in advance is a really, really sensible way to support your workforce, isn't it? So, I mean, one of the things that, because I know you're dying to know exactly what the women.
I really am. I really am.
Well, one of them was a big surprise. One of them was a big surprise, and is that every woman on our list had regular massage or reflexology. We were trying to work out, I mean, I love that background. I teach internationally infant massage and so forth. But what we realized is that by having regular massage or reflexology, they were actively lowering their cortisol levels, which has a major impact in everything to do with menopausal issues.
Interesting.
So that's why, for example, because I know it's not in everyone's ability to go for a massage regularly, but what we do is we teach in our retreats clothed back massage. So nothing, you know, smutty or anything like that, but clothed massage that you could even do with your children or partner. But we also teach, do you know the Darwin massage? Do you know that? And around the room. So it's something that women can actually do in the office. And I've actually got a couple of charities who have a 10-minute break, and they'll go, right, shall we all just do a bit of Darwin? And they're just doing this and exercising and massaging and feeling better. So I thought it was really interesting. So we could all do Darwin, mate.
And Deborah, is there anything that you would also add to that? Oh, you're on mute. God, it's a long time since I've said that. Here we are.
I've got the first black mark. I mean, legally, there's the equality law, isn't there? There's reasonable adjustment and duty of care. So we, you know, when people are resistant to take us up on the training, etc., we sort of chuck a bit of law at them to make sure that they do attend, and say that you could be in really hot water if we don't do this. So, you know, there's the strong arm of HR.
The threats that work.
But, you know, it's so important, and it comes back to that conversation about, you know, this might be why your wife is particularly upset or grumpy at the moment, and we always turn it back to the personal, because to the people that they really care about. And do you really want to be that unsupportive? And if they're still resistant, are they really the right leader in our organisation, would be the conversation that we would have, because it's so important that we support our staff. You know, we just won't tolerate people not.
No, and we support our staff in every other way, don't we? You know, if they're pregnant or if they're ill or if they've got, you know, if they need support problems because of stuff going on at home, we support our teams. So yeah, absolutely. Why are people not supporting their staff with menopause in the workplace? Now, I actually can't believe that time is nearly up, but I do have one more question. And I'd like you guys, if possible, to give some top tips to our audience about raising any concerns that they might have about menopause in their workplace. So could I throw it open to you guys? what top tips would you give our audience on how to raise any concerns they have about menopause at work in their current workplaces? We've got some great questions as well coming in, guys. So once we go to the Q&A part of today's session, they're coming in thick and fast. So it's so engaging to see that everybody has got something to ask and something to learn and something to share. But yeah, over to you guys. What's your top tips? Charlotte.
Okay. We're all quiet. I'm just jumping.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, I think that education and information is really, really important. So for those people that maybe haven't got a menopause policy or any kind of well-being strategy or any of these kind of initiatives in place, where do you start that? Well, actually, it's about providing information that, you know, you are producing, and you're doing a bit of homework, really. So not only are you kind of educating yourself, but you're helping to educate your peers, your managers upwards about the reality of this. And, you know, right at the start, you asked the question, why should employers be interested in this? Well, there are real business reasons for this. It will massively impact the bottom line. So there's a great big financial you know, incentive for employers and business owners to really put this highly on the agenda, as well as the legal obligations that we've spoken about as well.
Yeah,
the conversation isn't already being started, then you can start it, and you don't have to ram it down people's throats. That's not the reality of it. But actually just work in fact, because there's plenty of information out there that you can share, and you can see the tangible business benefits as a result.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Deborah, anything that you could add to that to share with our audience?
I mean, what we do is we do a lot of talking to our staff, and then we always pull back to the facts and figures out in the public domain. So Nuffield Health reported in 2019 that 79% of female workers felt unsupported in the workplace. And when you drill down that into a little bit further, I think it was like 52% of female workers didn't feel supported in the menopause. Now, if everything on social media is very quick now, and things can escalate very quickly. So do you, as a business or an organisation, want to be known in this area as unsupportive to your workforce? No, you don't.
Yeah.
So it's about changing the conversation, really, about, you know, you have to support. Every single female will go through this at some stage of their life, and the quicker you get in and give people the ability to press the pause button and to talk about it, the better, and your attrition will be, the better people will feel supportive, your sickness levels will go down, you'll have a happier workforce, and more people will not want to leave your organisation because they'll feel wanted and supported. Yeah. It ticks every box. So for me, it's kind of crazy not to embrace this. It's a big talking point now. It's all over TV. There's been some high-profile people done programs about it. There was one, Davina McCall, done a week or so ago, a two-part thing. Encourage your senior leaders to watch that, and then maybe they'll have a different aspect on it and feel that they need to support their workforce.
Yeah, brilliant. And final say over to Kate, anything that you'd like to add to what our guys have said to share with the audience?
I think a very simple thing, and I'm echoing, I think, comments I'm seeing there on the chat, is that if a member of your team says, can we have a menopause champion? That is saying, I want more information, I want more support. Yeah. And in some ways, that's a shortcut, isn't it, for saying, I need more than that's available right now. So that's what, as all managers, we've got to look out for. If we get those kind of comments, then there's something lacking. And I agree with everything my, two lovely women have been saying about education and preempting is vital. So you put it all together, and I think we can make some really great changes.
Okay, brilliant. Do you know what? There's so many questions that I haven't asked you guys because we've just been chatting, haven't we? And I hope that the audience has found it really, really useful. But if you're a business who already has menopause support in place, then that's amazing. Well done, you guys. But if you don't have it and you're just talking about it today for the first time, I'm hoping that today's session has been really useful. Our panel of experts are here to help you. They're all professionals in what they do. So hopefully we're going to be able to open up in a second to our Q&A. So let's shout out your questions. I'm going to now hand over to my chamber friends, and they're going to start doing the Q&A on my behalf. So you can either raise your hand button to ask your question verbally, or you can type it into the Q&A. So yeah, go for it, audience. Oh, Amanda is hot off the press. Excuse the pun, guys. Hot off the press. Amanda, far away.
Thank you. And I mean, I have so many questions, but I just wanted to say to start with, wow, that was amazing and really, really interesting. And we're currently in the process of updating our handbook at Suffolk Chamber, and I'm certainly going to be making sure that we've got a menopause policy in place and some training too. I just wanted to ask a question around, just to explore in more detail about the confidence side of things and about calling it out as well, because I was guilty myself in my 20s and 30s of making jokes in the workplace about menopause, thinking that it would never happen to me, obviously. And it was just seen as, you know, it was workplace banter. And I wonder if the panel has just got some advice on what people can do to call that out, and how we can get people so that they're not bystanders when these things take place.
Jump in with that one. Okay.
I think it's all about education, and then that stops in a sense, Amanda, so that, you know, if everyone is already discussing the menopause, then, you know, that I totally understand that. I remember when I used to work in the city, there was a lot of, you know, slightly taking the mickey. Oh, she's having a bit of a hot one, and those kind of things. And that's normally equals embarrassment, doesn't it? When we talk in that way, it's normally because we don't quite know or we're uncomfortable about. So education takes that all away. And then I think, once again, it's about women being really strong with, I'm a menopausal woman and I'm fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm meaning it. Because actually, you know, the idea of being, the idea of the menopause is also about owning and being a wise woman. Let me get through some of the sort of slightly, you know, uncomfortable bits like the hot flushes, come out the other side and move away, everyone, because I'm coming through. And if we can rephrase that for everyone, and actually this is when you're coming into your power time as a woman, let's think about the advantages, because then you're going to keep women feeling confident about the process, and you're going to keep your very, very best female execs.
Yeah, fantastic. Deborah, could you add to that for us as well?
That's why we call it a power surge.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, okay, so you're having a power surge, you're going to come back better and stronger, you know, and it is about opening that conversation up with our managers and just, well, what are you frightened of? What are you embarrassed? Why do you feel that you can challenge women and make these comments? You know, what's going to happen at the end of this? This lady's going to come out a lot stronger than you. She's going to have quite a few power surges, and you know, you might need to move over and make space for her. And it's about calling out that behaviour. And again, we always try and take things back to how would you feel if somebody was making those comments to your wife, mother, sister, daughter? It's unacceptable, and that sort of bullying, laddish work. But you know, we have a lot of guys in our estates and facilities because obviously we need to maintain our hospitals, and we've worked really hard with them. And when we started to focus it, we knew there were mainly male dominated areas, so that's where we focused our menopause training first, to break down the sort of instilled, what you call building type banter, and make them really understand. And a lot of them have come forward, and we have 7, you know, we've got an electrician, a painter, one of our deputy directors, as they are menopause champions in the trust. You don't have to be a lady to be a menopause champion, and if you can get buy-in from those men, you know, there was one who was about to leave his wife, and he was like, I get it now. I get it, I understand it. I just thought, where are we now? And you know, he'd been married 27 years.
Yeah.
That's frightening, isn't it? That we would allow something that is natural, happens to every woman, that we would allow it to break up a life partnership.
Yeah.
So it's about fitting the men first, I would say, rather than the women.
And you know, it's interesting because I was reading a stat the other day about divorce and the menopause, and how something like 60% of divorces happen during the menopausal years, which is quite scary, really, isn't it? Yeah, your lifetime's work and all for nothing, really. But guys, have we got some other questions? I've got an anonymous question here that I'd like to share with you. So one of our audience, one of our attendees has said, when I raised my issues with my MD and concern for others, I was immediately made the menopause champion. Are there resources available to help put our approach together? Far away, guys.
I mean, there are resources out there. I mean, I think having an accredited menopause champion training is really helpful. I think where I feel a bit uncomfortable about that comment, Michelle, is that, you know, because you've been brave and come forward to a manager, should you then be the person who's then trying to solve the problem? I think, you know, it's sometimes that feels a bit uncomfortable to me, although it may be you are the person that feels able to step up, but maybe be the other side of it before you're helping other people.
Okay, cool. Anything else the other panelists would like to add to that, guys?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the case, that when you're appointing people to the role of wellbeing champion or menopause champion, or you know, I see this so much within the wider business context of promotions and putting people into certain roles. There isn't often a lot of collaboration or communication that goes. There's a lot of assumptions that are made, and that's a really dangerous situation. So never assume, always keep that dialogue open, so that you know, the right people are in the right roles, but also that they're giving access to the resource, the training, the development that's needed in order to support and facilitate that. And then going right back to the start, you know, it's not just about appointing a menopause champion, because it's about how you launch that, how you integrate that into your organisation as well, and give it the greatest chance for success, because you don't want it to be another tick box exercise of, yes, well, we've got one, but no one knows who they are, no one knows what they do. You know, their role isn't carved out, there isn't a sense of purpose or output that, you know, is expected. So always, for me, it's about starting with the end in mind.
Okay, so there's other questions coming in. Guys, if you want to ask a question, either raise your hand so we can see on screen that you want to ask, or pop it in the Q&A box. But one of our attendees has asked about non-HRT support. Kate, do you have any advice to give to the guys if they don't want to take HRT, or if it's not possible?
I mean, there's a lot of our clients who have decided they're not taking HRT. I guess it's probably about 50-50. And frankly, Michelle, we've come a long way from using pregnant mare urine, which is what HRT used to be. And now we have slightly more organic, mostly yams, as HRT. I'm sure you know that. So the holistic side, there's so much there. But it's about education. I wasn't joking when I said about the sort of massage thing. It is literally one of the biggest interventions that women are finding that help. There's huge amounts of information. For example, University of California have done research on the benefits of yoga. And within 3 weeks of women attending yoga twice a week, the women's hot flushes were diminished by over 30%. They were sleeping better and they felt calmer. So there's so much information that's slowly trickling in that educates us. We make our path. So that's what we care about, is that we want women to decide what their path is going to be, and at every point make an informed decision that's right for them.
Yeah, okay. Now we have a raised hand from Georgie. Georgie, what is your question?
Hello. Yes, I'm Georgie Jameson. I'm a Suffolk ambassador for the Chamber, but I'm also from BBC Radio Suffolk. And I've come on this webinar because I want to do a menopause special for the BBC. I'd like to ask the experts, and I'd also like to ask all the attendees, what would you like to hear if I was going to broadcast an hour-long special about the menopause? What information and what topics would you like me to get out there to the wider public?
So can I quickly butt in? Georgie, you are our new best friend, because if we can get some more momentum about this, then we are succeeding and we're doing exactly what we set out to do. So I'm hoping you're going to be flooded with suggestions now.
Am I still, can you still hear me?
We can, yes.
I was going to say, I'm 52, I am going through, well, I think I'm perimenopausal. Well, I'm pretty sure I am. But if you're happy for me to put my email address in the chat box, I could invite people and the attendees, businesses, to email me their suggestions. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. That's
Lovely.
good, is it, Chamber guys? It's very difficult on a webinar because you can't see people. Just thought I'd let our audience know that you can't see people.
No,
that's fine, Michelle. That's all.
I'll put my email address in there now.
Okay, that's great. Can we have some other questions? I know they were flooding in, but they seem to have disappeared from my screen. Okay, so we've had another question come through about the non-HRT info. So thank you, Kate. Is there anything that the guys can do with the aches and pains? Because it really does hurt, doesn't it? Your joints, injuries. I mean, I had an injury a while ago on my knee, and it just took an age to heal because of the fact that I'm going through the menopause. So is there anything that you guys can suggest to help with the aches and pains?
Magnesium.
Really?
Magnesium is one of the easiest ways to help with aches and pains. I'm back to massage as well now, so just as well. But magnesium supplements are really helpful. You remember Dead Sea baths? I know so many menopausal women who have every week or every month, they'll have a Dead Sea salt bath. Not only do you then fall asleep amazingly afterwards, but the aches and pains start to really diminish. It's one of my best top tips.
Wow, that's amazing. Charlotte?
Just for those kind of employers out there, I think that all of these suggestions are absolutely amazing, and taking it back to, if you think about this as part of your holistic well-being strategy across the board, because these symptoms that we're talking about, whilst they are absolutely related to the menopause, actually there's similar symptoms across the board for all genders, within an organization. So for employers wanting to really, be an employment destination, build their employee engagement, build their employer brand, putting in these initiatives, it's not just about the benefits for those people going through the menopause phases. Actually, we're seeing a lot of flexible benefits packages being put together to introduce things like exercise classes and massage into organizations to really support all employees in terms of their health and well-being, because there are real tangible benefits to an organization. And so, thinking about people's workplaces as well, working from home has been really beneficial, and allowing people to, maybe do exercise and things like that. But also it's been the absolute, had the opposite effect, because a lot of us just sit down in front of these tiny little boxes and don't move for 7 or 8 hours a day, and sometimes more. So actually for employers to put this onto the agenda and raise people's awareness and build it into the work schedule, look at the environment, look at the equipment that people are using, because that can be really supportive as well.
Yeah, perfect. Deborah, can I throw Georgie's question to you? What topics do you think we should cover to get people talking openly if we can get this hour-long show with her? What would you say?
I would say it's about the taboo, about how you actually get people to start the conversation, because until people feel comfortable about talking about it, you're never going to progress in the workplace. I thought at ESNEF, I came on here today thinking we were doing okay on the menopause, but we have worked on this for 2 or 3 years to really get this ingrained into our workforce. But I've still learned a lot. There's a lot I'm going to take away from this.
Yeah.
You know, you can never know enough, and you can never talk about enough, and nothing is a sort of stupid question, because all those things people don't. It's embarrassing to recognise that, and then there's also I'm a woman, I don't want to get old, I don't want to go through menopause and all of that. So I think would be to start with the taboo, and it's okay to talk about it.
Okay, brilliant. There's one for you, Georgie. And Kate, what would you say? What do you think we should be talking openly about on an hour-long radio session?
I think that capitalizing on where we are right now and making it a positive step rather than if you like, all the negatives.
Yeah.
So what attracts people to make change is actually how exciting. How about you and I working together, and we're going to make some changes. Let's Suffolk lead the way. Let's companies in Suffolk, let women in Suffolk feel the most supported in the area. Sell it, actually, because actually if you can make the positives from that, and that there are very small changes that you can make holistically, have a massive impact on the journey going towards and during the menopause. If we focus on that, it also then starts to capitalize on how managers are thinking about this and going, well, actually, yes, we're making progress. So I feel more confident having that conversation.
Excellent. That's great. Guys, I think that's a wrap. Have we got any more questions coming through? Got chance for one final question. I think this is going to be the first of many sessions we're going to do over the coming months, and and as time moves forward. It's such an important subject to so many, and we need to be heard, don't we? And we need to keep pushing out. So I am going to be signing off now.
Michelle, I've just got one more question, if that's okay.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry, I have the power to jump in, and I'm going to take that power. We were talking about power.
It's because I can't see anything. It's quite, But go ahead, Amanda, after you.
I was we touched earlier on hybrid working, about that being a good opportunity for people if they're struggling with symptoms to be able to work from home. But at the moment there's quite a big push from some areas of government and in some parts of the media as well about saying that you have to go back to the office, you have to work in the office to actually do any work. So I just wondered if the panel had any views on this, and in particular that there's a risk then that could negatively impact women if they're still working from home and everybody else is in the office.
Interesting. Let's throw that one to Charlotte first.
I knew that one was coming my way. I think what's really important is for people to recognise that the right to request flexible working has now been extended to everybody, not just to parents and carers. And obviously there's some eligibility criteria around that, because you need to be employed for 26 weeks with an employer in order to request that. But actually that's the statutory legal side of it. And really for employers, going back to the fact that they need to be employment destinations in terms of a recruitment and retention tool, employers are going to have to seriously think about their offer. And actually, it's not just about the benefits to the individual about this hybrid working. Actually, there's lots of benefits to a business, an organisation, to really embrace this way of working, but again putting some conscious thought into how this works in reality, and I think that's what's really missing at this point, that a lot of these actions that you did subconsciously when you're all together it's just a different way of thinking, a different way of approaching this different way of working. And so again, having a strategy, having a plan as to how you're managing this effectively, so that people aren't suffering a detriment if they're working from other locations, is really important, so that they're not missing out on those opportunities. And this goes back to the type of culture of your organisation. So, you know, just very quickly to go back on the last comment that was made, you know, what's okay in your business? How do you do business? You need to set the culture as a leader in your business as to what's acceptable and what's not. And you need to make sure that you've got ambassadors and the right people in your business to really enhance that culture. And if you have people in your business that aren't, then you need to manage that accordingly as well. You need to set the right tone from the get-go.
Okay, brilliant. Do you know, we're having such great feedback on the chat room. So thank you all so much for your positivity. I'm feeling quite excited about the new word of power surge. So thank you for that, Deborah, and thank you all to our speakers. I don't think this is going to be the last you see of menopause in the workplace, led by Suffolk Chamber of Commerce. So thank you guys for putting on the event. We are very keen to continue to support businesses in this way, and we will be offering another poll up very shortly. So if you could please answer before you shoot off, before you go. Now, I'm hoping we're going to see an overwhelming yes to that question, because I think we're now gathering some momentum. Thank you to our guests, Charlotte, Kate, Deborah. We strongly believe at Suffolk Chamber of Commerce that a more diverse workplace will deliver better results for Suffolk and Suffolk business. And I think this seminar and webinar has, it's leading the way in this area. Also, if your business would like to be recognised as a supporter of the Gender Equality Pledge, make sure you tap the guys at Chamber up, please, because we can get that shared out to you. And we've got other events coming up at Chamber. I keep saying we, but it's actually they. But yeah, Chamber have got events coming up. Safari Networking, Tuesday the 24th of May at Venue 16, and Brunch and Business Networking, Tuesday the 28th of June. I would love to host that one, but I'll be winging my way back from Glastonbury. But anyhow, I may be a menopausal woman, but I've still got it going on. So that is it from us. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to today's event. We hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, goodbye to you guys. Have a great day. Enjoy those power surges. Are we all supposed to just look frozen?